All right, and back to politics now. Republican frontrunner John McCain dogged by the challenge that he is not conservative enough, picking up a major conservative endorsement today. Gary Bauer, pro-life advocate and president of the conservative group Our American Values, announcing that he's supporting McCain. This came after President Bush appeared on Fox News Sunday and had this to say about the race.
He is a conservative. Look, he's very strong on national defense. He's tough fiscally. He believes that tax cuts ought to be permanent. He's pro-life. I mean, his principles are sound and solid as far as I'm concerned.
All right, but he said that was not an endorsement. He says Huckabee is still in the race. He was careful to point that out. Mike Huckabee is not laying down, clearly. He won Kansas. He won Louisiana over the weekend, and his campaign is challenging McCain's win. It was a narrow win in Washington State, which we just spoke to Mike Huckabee's campaign about. Let's see what our A-list has to say about this. David Korn is here. Hi, David.
Hi, good to be with you.
Good to see you. He's a Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones Magazine and Fox News contributor as well. Jason Rowe is joining us at the live desk for the first time. He's a Republican strategist. Griff Jenkins is here as well. He's a Fox News correspondent, of course, and today's Fox Wildcard, our own Jody Applegate, co-host of Good Day New York. Good to have everybody here. Well, let's, Jason, since you're the new guy on the block, let's kick things off with you and get your thoughts on this very tight race that we see unfolding between Mike Huckabee and John McCain. We should point out that Paul Weyrich, who's a strong conservative, came out and supported Mike Huckabee today. Do these endorsements matter from Gary Bauer and Weyrich at this point in the race?
You know, I think they're going to start to, because I think Huckabee is actually doing John McCain a favor, because I think conservatives want to get this thing over with and rally behind one candidate. And I don't think any conservative thinks that Mike Huckabee is going to be a guy that can win for us in November. And so, you know, Huckabee is doing what McCain can't do for himself, and that's to get Republican regulars and conservatives to close ranks behind his candidacy.
What do you think about this, Jody? You know, a lot of people say Mike Huckabee should get out of the race. He says, look, nobody's won yet. You need 1,191 delegates to win this race, so why should I go anywhere until it's won?
And technically, Ron Paul is still in the race also.
He is. Did quite well in Washington, actually.
Yeah. You know, there's a school of thought that Huckabee is doing McCain a favor by acting almost as a sparring partner, keeping him in the news. And we had this issue on my very show this morning, because all the drama really is on the Democratic side. And so you talk about Obama, Clinton, Obama. First thing you know, you've talked for 4 minutes. You've got to quickly, you know, to balance things out, you got to get a Republican question in there. Just to be fair, even if there really isn't much drama, at least it gives you a little something to talk about to keep McCain in the papers. If maybe it's not quite on the front page, it's kind of near the front.
Interesting. David Korn, go ahead.
I have a less conspiratorial explanation of Mike Huckabee's campaign. He's having too much fun to stop.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that.
I think he wants to get on Letterman and Leno at least for more time. He's playing guitar with Ricky Skaggs. I don't think until he makes it with the Doobie Brothers is he willing to quit the race. The one thing to watch is, yeah, he might be a sparring partner now. He has 2 weeks before Ohio and Texas, 3 weeks. If he doesn't turn up the heat on McCain, then we'll know he's sort of in this for not to win but to have fun. Now is the chance for him to really make a strong contrast. He hasn't gone after McCain the way he went after Romney. One has to wonder why.
Yeah, what do you think the reason is for that, Griff? Why aren't they going at each other? I mean, we know they get along. They're friends, for one thing.
Well, because he's the conservative guy. He's now Romney's out, so he's perceived. And as Karl Rove pointed out, he's not going to win. It's not mathematically possible. But as David pointed out, he's having fun. So he's now Miracle Mike. Now, the challenge in Washington, perhaps, maybe. I mean, you know, the party chairman shouldn't have called it so early, but does it really matter in the delegate count? Not really. He's got so much ground to make up, but at the same time, it keeps it alive. Mike's not down.
All right, let's listen to Gary Bauer earlier on Happening Now today on Fox.
I just feel strongly at this point that while Senator McCain reaches out to conservatives, that conservatives should try to reach out to him, try to unite together, work on those things we disagree on, but unite in order to defeat the two alternatives in November, either one of which would be a disaster, in my view, for our country or for conservatives.
Gary, so Jason, what do you think about that? I mean, one of the big questions is just getting people enthusiastic on the Republican side. You know, Gary Bauer chiming in now saying we all have to get together. How strong is that chorus, and when do you think it's going to be?
Well, I think it's starting. You know, I think when you see what happened in Washington State with the chairman maybe prematurely calling the state for Senator McCain, you see a lot of people that were uncomfortable with McCain during the earlier part of the election until Romney's departure now closing in behind him. I think most people have accepted in their minds it's going to be McCain, except Huckabee. And we can't forget that Huckabee may well be trying to leverage the support that he has in the form of delegates at a convention to leverage himself either a running mate spot or some very visible role in the campaign or in an administration.
All right.
But there still are some high-profile Republicans out there, Rush Limbaugh and culture conservatives, I should say, more than Republicans, who just won't accept John McCain. And they're not going to get behind him just because they want to, the Republicans to win in November. And that's a fight, that's a contest that's not going away. And the fact that Paul Weyrich, one of the leaders of the New Right, went out and endorsed Mike Huckabee today shows that there are some conservatives like Jim Dobson who just can't stand John McCain.
All right, we'll see if they get behind him one time or another. David, thanks. We're going to be right back. All right, well, there has been a lot of talk about a remark that an MSNBC reporter made about Chelsea Clinton last week. Reporter David Schuster was temporarily suspended after asking this question and discussing Chelsea Clinton's role in her mom's campaign. He said, doesn't it seem like Chelsea is sort of being pimped out in a weird sort of way? Let's see what our A-list has to say about this. It's a hot-button sort of issue. People like to be edgy on these sort of shows and say things that they're not supposed to say, and yet, they're stepping over the line, and in this case, NBC clearly says that David Schuster stepped over the line. I don't know if it's a slap on the wrist or more than that, but he's suspended for some period of time. What do you think about it, Jody?
Well, it's tricky, especially in this day and age where the line between news and comment gets very blurry, especially in prime time. And you're told to be, edgy and hip and young, and the P word, it has lost its original meaning. I mean, I would say it's like the word junkie. Like so-and-so's a news junkie. Doesn't mean they're in an alleyway shooting up heroin. It's a word that has become almost innocent. It has entered the slang. And there's even that show where you fix up your car.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I said this morning. It's like the first time I heard "pimp my ride," I looked at my kids like, "What did you just say?" But it has a different connotation, I think, for some people. But that doesn't mean. I mean, clearly, Hillary Clinton took great offense to it. It is interesting to me that it comes from, that this is coming from NBC. It's interesting that with all of the grief that Fox gets, for these sorts of issues, you never hear this sort of thing being said.
Well, let me say a word about it.
Go ahead, David.
Well, David Schuster's a friend, and that wasn't obviously a dumb remark. He usually is a reporter, not a TV show host, and usually does pretty good straight-up reporting. I think trying to be edgy, he used this term that has slipped into the vernacular, and he was, too lazy about it. And I do think, though, that the Hillary Clinton campaign, part of their strategy is when things like that happen, to take full advantage of it as possible.
Look
and
like the victim.
They did that with Chris Matthews and others in the past. Not to justify Chris Matthews' remark either, but it's something that actually feeds into Hillary Clinton's campaign strategy by getting her base roiled up.
Are the Clintons being picked on? Because when you look at Meghan McCain, you look at the Romney boys, nobody said that about them. Are they unfairly being picked on?
Well, I think in some ways, yes. I do think that, she's in this weird position, not weird, but historic position of being the first female major presidential candidate. And, people sometimes react to that in all sorts of emotional ways. And and she gets treated, and the whole business about her laugh and the cackle, I think was going overboard, because we don't analyze how men laugh about things, usually.
We laugh about how you laugh, David, but that's another matter. Well, let's take a look at what Hillary Clinton had to say.
I have sent a letter to the head of NBC expressing the deep offense that I took and pointing out what has been a troubling pattern of demeaning treatment. And I would expect appropriate action to be taken.
Jody? Let me just say, I'm not defending at all what David Schuster said. He probably should have chosen a different phrase. And I did used to work at MSNBC, in terms of full disclosure. But we had Mo Rocca on recently, and he was joking about the Romney boys. And he took a pot shot or two at how one or two of them look or don't look. And it was no big deal, and there was, no harm, no foul, and everybody laughed and we moved on. But if it had been a daughter of Romney's and a similar comment was made about her, that might have raised more eyebrows, and maybe that's legit. I don't know.
Quick thought from Griff.
Quickly, as a father, I understand her outrage, but at the same time, Chelsea's 27 years old. She has 4 campaign stops today. Let's hear what she has to say. I mean, there's a reason why no one said John McCain's pimping his mom out, because Mrs. McCain will put the beat down on whatever reporter that is. Let's hear from Chelsea on this issue, not just Hillary.
This is a shiny object to distract everybody from the fact that she just lost the last 5 primaries to Obama, and they're going to drive this as long as they can.
All right, good point.